No phones, no electricity, no understanding of science the way that we know it today. There's just fields, livestock, and whatever you can see with your own eyes. That's Woolpit, England, sometime in the mid 1100s. A place where if something strange showed up, you didn't Google it. You actually feared it. And on this day, it did show up. Two children standing silently near a wolf trap. They weren't crying. They weren't calling for help. They were just there. Their clothes, they were unfamiliar. Their language was unknown. And their skin, well, it was green. And not the kind of green, not maybe it's the lighting kind of green. Green enough that grown adults, people who had seen diseases, people who had seen famine, people who had seen war, stopped and didn't know what they were looking at. Now, I need you to ask yourself this. What would it take in a time like that to truly shock a village? Because whatever these children were, they didn't, exactly know what they were. They did exactly, what they weren't, or maybe were supposed to do. Shock a village. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Triple T Podcast. The voice you're hearing, it's me. It's Matt. It's BEARDLOVE. And joining me, as always, is my co-host. Well, come on. Tell them who you are. Tell them what's up.
What's up, folks? It's your favorite time traveler and resident beard aficionado, Luther Grimwood, in the house. And let me tell you, that green kid story, it's a humdinger. But Matt, come on. If I saw green kids in my village, I'd have assumed they were alien vegetables. Anyway, we're diving headfirst into this mystery today. Buckle up, because by the end, you might just wonder if you're seeing green too.
Yeah. Luther. How's things? Yes, I do agree with you, which we do agree a lot, that if I saw some green children, I would be completely terrified, especially in this era. I mean, it's the 1100s, and what we know about this time, we really don't know, because let's be honest, of the episodes that we have done here and the conspiracy theories on the Triple T Podcast, we know that history isn't exactly what we know it as. We only are getting a version that is kind of thrown at us, is written to us, and it's not always exactly what it appears, as it turns out, huh?
Exactly. I mean, if medieval folks could write us a Yelp review on reality, I think we'd be down a rabbit hole. They didn't have Google, but they sure had folklore. So whether these kids were aliens, lost travelers from a green-painted Renaissance fair, or someone's idea of a cosmic prank, we're going to dig into the mystery and unpeel those layers, one green thread at a time. Let's make history as fun as it should be, or at least as bizarre.
Let's make history as fun as it should be. I like that, Luther. I always like the way that you put a little bit of a twist on things. Good stuff. But yeah, this one's definitely interesting, and I wanted to mix it up a little bit this week and really travel back in time. And I feel like it's been a long time since we've gone back this far. This could be the longest that we have gone back here on the Triple T Podcast now, hasn't it, Luther?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we usually dabble in the 1900s or maybe an 1800s conspiracy if we're feeling frisky, but this time we're practically ancient. I'm half expecting us to find out I had a summer cottage in medieval England. But hey, whether it's green kids or green flags, we're diving deep, Matt, because nothing says Triple T like turning history into one wild bearded ride.
Plus, I thought it was a fun little play to do all of the green stuff on the day after the 20th of April, which to a lot of people, it is a celebration or a holiday for other things green.
I see what you did there. The only thing we're lighting up today is curiosity, and maybe a few medieval myths. Whether it's green kids or green leaves, we're here for the mystery. So let's get back to Woolpit. No munchies, just some good old-fashioned wonder.
Let's go ahead and do it, my friend, because I feel like before we go any further, we need to understand Woolpit. Luther, Why did they name this town Woolpit? There has to be a really cool story, and I want you to tell them what this is because I love doing street sign story time, which is also here on the Beard Laws Network, where I drive by, I see street names, and I tell you the history about it. So every town has a name, every street has a name. Where did the name Woolpit come from?
Oh, you're gonna love this one. Woolpit or wolf pit is exactly what it says on the tin. Back then, they dug pits to catch wolves because let's face it, medieval pest control was basically a hole in the ground. So, the town was named after these literal wolf traps. And fun fact, no wolves needed for the green kids, just a wolf pit and a whole lot of confusion.
A lot of wolves. I mean, from the werewolves in London to wool pits, which is wolf pits. Could you imagine waking up? You captured yourself a wolf, and then you have to take care of it because it's down in the pit. Do they just leave them down there, or do they, have to, put them down with whatever methods that they had in these pits?
Oh, it was definitely not a medieval petting zoo, my friend. If you caught a wolf, you either had some very unlucky wolf stew, or, well, you handled it. Let's just say medieval folks weren't known for their catch and release programs. But hey, that's one way to keep the village on its toes, both from wolves and mysterious green kids.
What was the weapon of choice in the 1100s? Was it bow and arrow, or some kind of like shaft thing? There wasn't like guns and everything, right?
Oh, yeah, no gunslingers back then. Your go to was a trusty bow and arrow, maybe a spear or a sword if you were fancy. But let's be real, half the time it was pitchforks and whatever blunt object was lying around. Wolf Pit or Green Kid, you defended your village with whatever you could swing.
And kind of going back to the wolf pits and wool pits, it's the reason they're not out there catching the wolves just as a means to eat and survive. They were catching and terminating these wolves because they were threatening their livestock, which is very important detail in that, because without livestock you wouldn't have lives.
Exactly. Back then, your sheep and cows weren't just cute Instagram content, they were survival. So wolves were like the ultimate furry villains. You didn't want them snacking on your future dinner. Wolf pits were basically medieval security systems, just a bit less high tech and a lot more, well, pit based.
Oh, I see what you did there. And Woolpit is a working village. It's structured. There's routine. Just hardworking people, and people knew that. You know, they knew who lived there. They know who traveled through this place. They knew what normal looked like, right?
Absolutely. In a tight knit medieval village, you knew Bob the blacksmith, Sue with the chickens, and everyone's daily grind. So when two green kids popped up speaking alien like gibberish, that was a full on what in the medieval heck moment. It's like someone dropped a UFO into your Tuesday. They didn't just break the routine, they broke people's sense of what was possible.
Dropping a UFO on a Tuesday. That's a heck of a band name, Luther.
You know it. UFO on a Tuesday. Coming soon to a medieval fair near you. I'll handle the loot solo, you bring the beard. I think we've got a hit. Or at least something to confuse Woolpit all over again.
And just to let everybody know too, at the time that the Green Children showed up, Woolpit was under the reign of King Stephen.
Ah, yes, good old King Stephen, who probably had enough civil wars and chaos to deal with. Imagine his royal messengers reporting, Your Majesty, forget the rebels, we got green kids now. Honestly, I bet even he would have needed a moment to process that one.
I mean, he's probably instantly going to throw one of these green kids into a wool pit, or a wolf pit. Sorry, a wool pit. I feel like that's the part when I'm done doing laundry that the family never cleans out. So I'm going to start calling it my wool pit.
Ha, that's perfect. Next time someone's sock vanishes, you can just announce it's fallen into the wolf pit. And hey, if medieval villagers can handle green kids, you can handle a little laundry conspiracy. It's all about perspective.
It really is all about perspective. So obviously, small town, hardworking people. In these small towns, things. Who live there. Everything. So when two children appear, who don't belong to any known place, that right there, it's not curiosity, it's disruption. And here's a detail that I feel like a lot of people just skip right over. These kids, they weren't wandering down a road. They were, found near these pits. Like they emerged from the land itself. And I feel like that matters, right?
Oh, it definitely matters. It's the difference between, hey, lost kids, and what in the enchanted forest just happened. When you show up from a wolf pit, people start wondering if you crawled out of some mystical dimension. So, yeah, it turns their whole reality upside down because that's not just disruption, that's folklore coming to life.
It really is. And especially in a time where folklore could easily, turn to life in a much different context, different times, if you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. Back then, you didn't have Netflix. You had the local bard and a whole lot of imagination. If something didn't make sense, boo, it became legend. So when Green Kids showed up, you better believe everyone was ready to weave a wild tale. And here we are, still telling it centuries later. Folklore's got staying power.
It really does. So I mean, you have these green kids. They appear that they came from the land near these pits, and all of a sudden, the villagers they start to approach carefully, and this is a part I think that gets glossed over. But think about it. These weren't modern people going, "Aw, poor kids." These were medieval villagers. Strange equals dangerous. Different equals suspicious. Possibly even supernatural.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you showed up with a weird haircut back then, they'd think you were a wizard. Green kids, that's like DEFCON 1. They'd be on guard, wondering if this was a curse, a sign, or just really weird kids. But hey, we're lucky they didn't just throw them in the wolf pit. Instead, they got curious enough to start a mystery that still got us talking.
And what's crazy, I mean, if this was to happen today, most of these people aren't going to be on guard. They're not going to grab a weapon. They're not going to approach. They're going to grab a phone and they're just going to record. And who knows if they're actually going to try to help the kids or not. Different times. Different times.
Different times indeed. Today it'd be viral in 30 seconds. Green Kids Challenge on TikTok. But back then, it was survival mode first, questions later. Honestly though, I think we could all learn something from a little curiosity. Just maybe not the wolf pit part.
Yeah, so they see these kids. They don't attack. They don't run. They bring the children in, which I think personally tells you something. The children, they didn't act threatening. The children, they didn't act aggressive. If anything, they seemed confused. They seemed disoriented, like they didn't understand where they were or even how they got there.
Exactly. These kids weren't out there summoning medieval spells. They were probably just as freaked out as the villagers. And that's a huge detail. It turns suspicion into, well, a weird form of compassion. I mean, once they realized these green kiddos weren't casting spells, they probably thought, all right, let's figure out what's up with these little green mysteries.
Little green mysteries. Interesting. I feel like some people purchased that at some places for April 20th. Anyways, let's slow this down a little bit because this is one of the most important and maybe weirdest details. The children, they're starving. Days go by. They're offered bread, cooked meat, vegetables, fruit, probably some wolf. Nothing. Not hesitation, not dislike, complete refusal.
Yeah, and that's where it gets even more bizarre. They didn't want anything familiar to the villagers, but then, boo, they spot raw beans or broad beans in a field, and suddenly that's their gourmet meal. It's like these kids were on a medieval paleo diet no one knew about. That detail makes you wonder, were they from some isolated world or just really picky eaters? Either way, it's a wild twist.
Wild twist indeed. I mean, so they are probably thinking, and I mean, I'm probably thinking too, like these kids are refusing all of this. Like, are they sick? Are they cursed? Are they even human?
Exactly. I mean, if I were a medieval villager, I'd be thinking, are they enchanted or did they wander out of a dream? It's like they had a menu no one else could see. And when they finally ate those beans, well, that's when you know the story is as much a riddle as a reality. It definitely blurred the line between folklore and what on earth is happening.
Yeah. But then someone brings in fresh, broad beans. The children see them, and something instantly changes. They grab them. They eat them. It's like it's the first real food that they've ever seen.
And just like that, boom, mystery deepens. It's like they were waiting for that one thing. You got to wonder, were they from a place where only beans grew, or was this some strange dietary puzzle? Either way, it's one of those moments that makes you pause. Like these kids weren't just green, they were a walking enigma with a side of beans. Makes you think there's more to the story, or at least more beans.
Yeah, and as we're talking about beans, beans a musical fruit, they didn't just eat the beans. They specifically ate them raw, straight from the pod. I mean, that right there, I feel like suggests familiarity, right? Like it suggests routine. It suggests wherever they came from, this wasn't strange to them, but everything else was.
Exactly. It's like they had one piece of home in a world of strange. Everything else, alien. But raw beans? That's comfort food. It's like they were from a place where beans were the go-to snack and everything else was, well, not even on the menu. So yeah, it definitely hints that wherever they came from, it was bean central.
Is there anywhere in our world that fresh broad beans is the diet, is the go-to meal, is, a place where maybe this did suggest that they could potentially be from?
Well, broad beans or fava beans have been eaten in many cultures for ages. But if we're talking super bean-centric, Mediterranean and Middle Eastern regions have always loved their beans. Now, were these kids from Beanlandia? Probably not. But it does suggest they had some origin where simple raw foods were the norm. Maybe they just had a really strict medieval diet plan. No processed foods, just beans.
Yes, and if you're maybe only eating these beans, could it potentially change your skin pigment? But let's talk about the green skin, right? Because it isn't just a creepy visual, it's central to the mystery. The accounts describe it consistently. It wasn't painted, it wasn't stained, and it wasn't temporary. It was their natural complexion.
Yeah, and that's what really sealed the deal. We're not talking about a bad day with face paint. This was their baseline. Now, modern guesses range from dietary deficiencies, like chlorosis, which can give a greenish tinge, to some extreme folklore exaggeration. But at the time, that green skin turned these kids into living legends, whether it was diet or mystery. It made sure no one forgot them for centuries.
Yeah. And here's where things get interesting because over time, as the kids start to eat normal food, the green fades. Yeah, hold on, because this introduces a whole new layer, right? It almost suggests that environmental influence might have changed it, or nutritional deficiency, or maybe adaptation to a different condition, which means this isn't just they were green. It's more like something about where they came from made them that way. Or maybe it was just the beans.
It's wild, right? The green fades and suddenly it feels like we're dealing with a transformation arc. Whether it was malnutrition, a lack of sunlight, or just a really weird bean-only diet, it shows they weren't aliens. They were human kids with a bizarre backstory. So in the end, it might just be that a little nutrition and a lot of curiosity turned these green children into a story that'll never fade.
Yes. Yes, it'll never fade. But let's not skip this because it matters more than people realize in my opinion. All right? There's what, a girl and a boy, right? The girl seems to adapt a little bit, but the boy for some reason never did. He never learned the language. He never fully adjusted. Unfortunately, he got weaker. He got sick. And eventually, the boy dies.
Yeah, that's the bittersweet part. It reminds us this wasn't just a legend, it was real kids with a tough journey. The boy's health probably couldn't handle the shock of a new world, but the girl, she adapted, learned the language, integrated. It's like two sides of this mystery. One became part of the village, the other remained a tragic reminder of how fragile and strange life can be. So their story sticks with us, not just for the mystery, but for the very human twist in the middle of it all.
Yeah, because let's be honest, if they were just lost children, how come one adapts and one doesn't? Why does one survive long enough to tell the story and the other doesn't make it at all? I mean, I feel like that imbalance, it truly matters, right?
Oh, absolutely, it matters. It's the heart of the tale. Maybe one was more resilient, maybe one was just weaker from the start. But that difference makes it feel real. It's not a perfect fairy tale, it's a reminder of how life can be strange, uneven, and sometimes sad. But the fact that the girl's story carried on, that's why we remember. It turned a mystery into something human.
Yeah. Sometimes you wake up in the morning, you look at yourself in the mirror, and you don't look human. You don't look perfect. You look wild, especially your beard. How do you control it? How do you get past it? Well, it's pretty easy. You just go to livebearded.com. You can use code BEARDLOVE, save yourself some money. But I'm going to tell you right now, it is, in my opinion, the best beard products, especially that complete kit. I mean, you're going to be able to get, everything that you need for your great beard care. Plus, that, I mean, comes with over 90,000 five-star reviews throughout shops. It's got a 365-day guarantee. I mean, it's the go-to. Make sure you guys, if you want to buy something for yourself, you want to buy something for the man in your life that has a beard, go to livebearded.com. Use code BEARDLAWS.
Well, that's what I call a smooth transition. From green kids to glorious beards, we've covered it all. So, folks, keep those beards legendary, keep those stories wild, and hey, maybe next time we'll find out if there's a bean-based conspiracy behind everything. Until then, stay bearded and stay curious.
Yeah. But we need to clarify something here, Luther. These kids weren't just speaking a different language, because medieval England, they had exposure to Latin, I believe some French, and then there was some regional dialect, which is probably a lot of like the guy from The Water Boy in deep parts of probably Louisiana.
Oh, exactly. This wasn't just, oh, they're speaking the next village over's dialect. It was so out there that no one recognized it. It's like they were from a place not just over the hill, but over reality. So yeah, no medieval waterboy impressions. These kids were speaking next level mystery.
Yeah, and people, why I'm kind of saying this, people, they understood the concept of foreign speech, but this wasn't recognizable as anything, which meant one of two things. It was a completely isolated dialect, or it wasn't tied to any known language structures at all at the time.
Exactly. It's like they were speaking a language from a place nobody had mapped, either geographically or culturally. It's that unknown that makes the whole story pop. Was it just a lost community or something even wilder? Either way, it left those villagers and us scratching our heads centuries later.
Yeah. And that's where things start to kind of slip out of the normal explanation lane because, well, let's be honest. I mean, in the 1100s, there's probably some languages and ways to record things that are just not able to be done. I mean, the technology isn't there, so I have to imagine it is possible that these displaced kids could speak a language at the time that was unrecognizable, right?
Oh, for sure. Back then, if you wandered in from some tiny, isolated pocket of the world, your dialect might as well be alien. No Google Translate in the 1100s. So yeah, it's totally possible these kids were just a bizarre linguistic outlier. But of course it's more fun to imagine they were from a land of beans and mystery.
Yeah, like beans in the trap, beans in the trap. All right. Anyways, let's get to the moment that the entire mystery kind of hinges on. The girl learns English slowly, piece by piece, and when she's finally able to explain, do you know what she says? She says that they come from a place called St. Martin's Land, and it's not just a different town; it's a different environment entirely.
Yeah, she paints this eerie picture. St. Martin's Land, where everything's twilight, no bright sun, just a perpetual dusk. It's like something out of a dream or a medieval sci-fi. Whether it was a poetic exaggeration or her way of describing a real isolated place, it cranked the mystery to 11. St. Martin's Land, where reality blurs.
Yeah, and she described as a land kind of where everything has a green tint. There's no direct sunlight, only a dim twilight like glow. A world that feels muted, not dark, not bright, just kind of like in between. And then comes a turning point. They were tending animals. They heard a sound, so they followed the sound. They went into a cave. When they came out of the cave, they weren't home anymore. They were here. They were there. No journey, no travel. It was like a transition that is as smooth as my live bearded transitions.
Ha, smooth indeed. It's almost like they stumbled through a portal. One moment Twilight home, next moment, boom, Woolpit, England. Whether it was just a kid's confused recollection or the medieval equivalent of a sci-fi tale, it's the perfect ending for this mystery. A place between worlds. Just like that perfect beard between Scruffy and Majestic.
I don't understand this. I know kids have imaginations. Maybe it was a dream or something, but could you imagine in your brain, or at least the story that you think just happened, you were in your homeland, you were helping out with the chores like kids did at this time. You end up going into a cave, and then you walk out of this cave and you're here. You're in a weird area. You're in Woolpit, and people are staring at you.
Oh, it'd be bewildering. One minute you're herding sheep in twilight, next minute you're face to face with villagers who think you're a forest spirit. But you're just a kid lost in the wrong world. That confusion, that disorientation, it's no wonder the story stuck. It's a reminder that sometimes the world can be stranger than we imagine. Fiends, caves, and all.
I mean, the idea that the boundary between places might be thinner than we'd like to admit. I mean, we've all seen maps, old maps, not a land, but of possibilities. And caves, well, caves have a habit of showing up sometimes in all the wrong places.
Oh, absolutely. Caves have always been nature's wild card. You never know where they'll lead in folklore. Whether it's a shortcut or a portal to the unknown, they're a perfect setting for a tale like this. So whether St. Martin's Land was real or just a metaphor, it makes you think. Sometimes reality's boundaries are thinner than we assume, and that's what keeps these stories alive.
Yeah, and this isn't just folklore floating around, right? This was recorded by William of Newburgh, known for documenting real historical events. Ralph of Cogshell, a respected chronological. I probably said that word wrong, but and Abbott, right? These weren't entertainers. They didn't benefit from creating the story or exaggerating anything. If anything, their job was to document reality as they understood it. And both accounts align on the core elements, which kind of raises the stakes, right? Like either this was a shared misunderstanding or something genuinely unexplainable happened here.
Exactly. When two respected chroniclers, people whose job is to record the facts, are both telling the same bizarre tale, it makes you sit up. Either the whole village had a collective, what the heck moment, or something truly out of the ordinary happened. Either way, it's that tension between history and mystery that's kept the Green Children of Woolpit alive in people's imaginations for centuries.
And because of this, there are a couple of theories. There's the logical theory, right? That they were maybe Flemish orphans because Flemish immigrants, they existed. And malnutrition can cause greenish skin. But the problem is it doesn't explain the cave story. It doesn't explain the language fully. And it doesn't explain the environmental descriptions. It fits in some pieces, but it doesn't, you start putting the pieces together, it doesn't complete a whole puzzle. But then there's also the parallel world theory. And this is, a place without direct sunlight, with altered color perception, possibly underground or dimensionally different. And a cave acting as a transition point, that's not just fantasy, that's a pattern that shows up across many cultures, right? And maybe it's environmental isolation, all right? Maybe there was a hidden, isolated group that was kind of living in a low light, limited diet area with no outside contact. But again, how do they accidentally cross into another region with no clear path? I mean, what do you think of these theories, Luther? And what do you think is actually going on here?
Oh, I love them all. The Flemish theory's grounded. Malnutrition could explain the greenish hue, but it's a bit mundane, right? Now, the parallel world theory, that's where the fun is. Cultures love their stories of hidden realms, and this one fits right in. Honestly, I think it's likely a mix. Maybe isolated kids, exaggerated memories, and a good dollop of medieval wonder. But hey, I'll always keep a little space open for a Twilight Bean realm, just in case.
Right. And excuse me, here's what sticks with me. The girl didn't describe a journey. She described a mistake, a wrong turn, a moment where something shifted and suddenly they weren't where they were supposed to be anymore. And maybe that's the part we're not supposed to think too much about. Because if it happened once, what's kind of stopping it from happening again? And let's be honest, some of these stories, they fade because they're explained. Others, they stick around because they never are. And the Green Children of Woolpit, they don't give you answers. They give you just enough truth to make the questions worse.
Oh, absolutely. That's the magic of a good mystery. It's not about wrapping it up with a neat bow. It's about leaving that itch in your brain. The Green Children, they're a perfect what if. Whether it's a strange reality or a tale spun from confusion, they remind us the world's full of odd corners. And hey, if we ever stumble into a cave, maybe we'll be the next mystery.
That is true. Well, that was a good one, Luther. Anybody that's still listening, you're the real MVP. I can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your busy day to give us a listen, to give us a like, do all of the cool things. Give us a rating on Spotify and Apple. We would really, really appreciate that. And if you're over here on the YouTubes, give it a thumbs up, share it, leave a comment. We greatly appreciate everything you do. We're out of here, Luther. That's a wrap. Want to do it again next week? Cool. I do too. We'll be back next week. Take care, everybody. Luther, hit us with the outro. Tell everybody goodbye. Let's get out of here.
You got it. Folks, whether you're from the Twilight Land or just the next town over, thanks for hopping into this mystery with us. Keep questioning, keep wondering, and keep that beard looking sharp. Until next time, this has been Matt and Luther signing off. Stay curious, stay bearded, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week, everybody. Take care.